aging. We all want to age well, as healthfully as possible, so we can reap the benefits of all our hard work and really enjoy the rest of our lives in the most abundant, prosperous, and loving way possible. And it is a lot in longevity medicine. I've been studying in longevity medicine since the early 2000s as I became really interested because looking at the quality of life and the care of our elders at that time, right? I was in my 30s. And so I was thinking about people my age, but really also my parents, my mom who passed away at a young age of 67, and my dad who was really struggling at 79, but with intervention in longevity medicine, he was able to live out quality years to age of 91. Food is medicine, and learning that we are so much more than what we do, what we wear, where we live. We are more of our health, the quality of our health, and who we surround ourselves with. And those are true longevity hacks that each and every one of us can do, and that is absolutely free. And it is something that I have been focusing on over the past few years. So this Couch Talk, this Girlfriend Doctor show, I want to introduce to you some more concepts on longevity medicine, how we use food as medicine, as well as some of the cutting edge techniques. You know, part of my biohacking, has been in creating the health that works at the cellular level. When our cells are healthy and functioning well, our whole being functions better. When we heal at the cellular level, at the mitochondrial level, and improve cell-to-cell communication, we completely change the trajectory of our health. These little small changes on a regular basis. A while back, I had done a blog on, is this how Oprah felt? When Oprah had really focused with Weight Watchers, focused with her chef, Rachel Ray, and had gotten into the best health of her years at that point, and then had a slip back. And it's true, I have slipped back in ways and so many times, like the roller coaster ride of life, to learn, okay, what does God want me to know now? What do I need to know now to improve this transition, to break through this plateau, to go to the next level in my health? And the first thing is mindset. It's setting your goals and setting long distance goals, and also revisiting your goals on a daily basis in the most positive way, what we do want in our lives, not what we don't want in our lives. And that's been a really big part of it. Also understanding, okay, where is the cellular shift? There's cellular shifts in our 30s, in our 40s, in our 50s. And those are big ones, right? Those are really big ones. And then what happens as we're getting older in our 60s and our 70s and our 80s and beyond? And how can we keep navigating the amazing cathedral of our spirit that we have, our body, to radiate tremendously good health? And so with that spirit, I'm inviting a friend of mine who's also a chef. Her name is Serena Poon. Serena Poon is a celebrity chef and certified nutritionist. She also delves into energy medicine. She's a Reiki master and the wellness and longevity advisor to A-list clientele, from celebrities that you will definitely know, such as the likes of Jerry Bruckheimer and Kerry Washington. And she also in 2019 launched a lifestyle brand and TV show that encompasses all the pillars of optimal health. She is known and achieved her method through culinary alchemy, which is a combination of education, integrative and functional nutrition, and healing energy. She's also the founder of Just Add Water, a wellness line of super nutrient foods and supplements. So join me today in the Girlfriend Doctor Show in welcoming Chef Serena Poon. Welcome, Serena. It's good to have you here, and it's good to sit with you again. It's been a while.
Yes, yes, my dear friend. It's so happy to see your beautiful face and just so happy to share space with you. So thank you for having me on. It's nice we get to catch up too.
I know
So
it's so funny because I feel like, okay, well, I see her on Instagram all the time. I don't feel like it's been over a year, I think, since I've seen you last. And so,
no,
yeah,
we saw each other in January. Hasn't been
right.
that long.
Was it
Jan-
in January? Oh my gosh. Oh,
in
that's right, in
in
Austin.
Austin.
That's
Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah.
Well, going on, going on. Yeah, it just feels like, oh my gosh. But I feel like I've always been close to you because your Instagram's amazing and you're always sharing your heart. And I know you've had a lot of personal stuff going on right now, and that you've been taking care of your mom. And I want you to share a little bit about that journey. What I love about what you do is you incorporate wisdom, right? Deep set wisdom, work of the soul in
Mm.
opening up pathways to greater health and longevity, and how we can incorporate cutting edge science, but what are the foundations, how we improve foundational health. So I would love for you to share that story and your journey with your mom right now too.
Yes, of course. And thank you so much for asking and giving me this space to share. So yeah, recently my mom, she fell. She's 70, and she broke her femur. Gratefully, she broke it midway, so it wasn't like at the hip. And what happened was, so she went to the hospital. She had to have, a surgery within that 12-hour space. They ended up having to put a rod in her leg. But in that time frame, she all kinds of things were happening. Now, again, we're in the hospital setting. It's very kind of chaotic. Her heart rate is going AFib. She's never had those problems. And what happened was, while she was under anesthesia, so, obviously she's under anesthesia to go through this orthopedic surgery to put the rod in her leg, she actually vomited, uh, violently while she was under, which tells us something is going on with the body. Of course, they had stopped her food, and there's food in that. And sorry to be graphic to the audience, but this is what happened. But what
That's
that led
aspiration. We call that aspiration. That's so dangerous because it's caustic. It really can erode the lungs and very devastating situation.
Yeah, and what was also happening is that there was actually food coming out. So that told us, because the theme of all of this, from what we're talking about here into how we extend our life in a vibrant way for longevity, is that listen to your body. Our bodies are always telling us something, and some things are measurable and some things aren't quite as tangible. So that tells us there's something going on with her digestive system, if that's happening. So they did a scan. They looked like there was some blockage. They thought, okay, well, let's do a CT, which, obviously there's radiation. And I'm your holistic biohacker, right? I try to minimize everything, but clearly there was a need for a lot of allopathic processes and services in this journey. And then they found that there was something with her appendix. So immediately she had to be scheduled for an appendectomy. So she went to surgery again within that same 24-hour period. And it turned out she had a massive tumor in her appendix. And they were able to remove it. And of course, she ended up being in the hospital for about 3 weeks, lots of complications. And that tumor turned out to be a super rare, 1 in a million cancer.
Oh,
So,
wow,
so
that is rare of the appendix.
yeah, of the appendix. It's and so and gratefully it was low grade, so it was slow growing, but it had gotten to be very sizable. So, there's a lot more details I can share, at a later date. I actually haven't even shared this in my own platform. But what kept coming through in this whole process was, okay, there's a way that we treat the body with science, cutting edge, right? We and empowering ourselves, because the system isn't always built to serve us um, in the way we hope. So really in the hospital every single day, sort of like demanding the things that I know that she needs, and running tests, and even something as simple as an IV with nutrients in it. And then at the same time, every day being super grateful and blessed that this is all happening, because had she not fallen, had she not had that surgery, that wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have known to scan her abdomen. We might not have found this tumor and this cancer until much later. Um, at the same time, and we're going to talk about this now today, most GI cancers come from diet and lifestyle. It comes very much from what we put into our bodies, comes from what we drink, what we eat, and even how we breathe. But GI uh, um, discordances and imbalances can end up being a cancer, and it often comes from what we put into our bodies. So, my mother is, of course, a different generation. And despite all the things that I know, there's still that resistance and kind of understanding and making those changes. So this is all sort of a part of what's happening right now. But again, the greatest message here is that we empower ourselves. We empower ourselves to not even just take control of our health, but like we guide. We are the leaders of where we go in terms of our lifespan and longevity. And one of the most important areas is gut health. That uh, clearly affects our immune system, but it also affects our mind, our mood, are able to make clear decisions. And so what I'm witnessing in this journey right now is, kind of that three step forwards, two steps back, sometimes one step back, because we're all human, and my mom is, she's my mom. She's so human. She's also an energy body. But just like that kind of, as you said, remembering there is that wisdom of knowing that we are always challenged with what our brain kind of adopts as a habit or a safe place or a foundation or a comfort zone. And to trust that as we go outside of that comfort zone, because there's another part of our brain that knows, okay, this is good for me. This is going to be healing for me. To like give ourselves a little bit of that grace, to know that, oh, this feels super uncomfortable. I don't want to have my green juice right now. I don't want to have my bone broth right now. I don't want to have these things that are healing for me, for whatever reason, but to also
It
trust,
can
yeah,
often
trust
be,
the
Serena.
science. Mm,
Yeah, and it's a trust the process, but it can also be that subconscious, right? The comfort from these things, or what's familiar versus what's unfamiliar, and that feels safe. And so it's very courageous to take those steps, and especially in a weakened state, in the recovery state.
yeah, it really is. And I'm so glad that you highlighted that, because we've talked about it before. I think maybe in our last podcast, and just in general, it's just um to remind ourselves that it's not about taking away that comfort. It's more, okay, understanding, why does this food that we know might not actually be good for us, it might actually be shortening our longevity, why do we want it? And kind of like attuning to that. It's like, okay, well, this actually reminds me of when I used to hang out with my college friends, and that sense of community is really what I'm longing for as I reach for this item that might not be good for me. And
Mhm.
then once you know that, then you can say, okay, then maybe I need to call my best friend right now, or maybe I need to just connect in some way, and then choose the healthier choice. So it's just, I love what you're talking about here on your podcast, and just in general, and your messaging aligned with mine, is that we have the cutting edge science. We do those things. That's almost easier to connect to sometimes, because there's tangibles, right? There's evidence, there's like proof on paper or in the lab, and in clinical trials. And equally important are the things that we might not have tangibles about. Um, and that's within us, and seeing that what we know, um, those sort of honoring those that wisdom, that energy we have about ourselves and about our bodies is equally important to that cutting edge science. Which is, we were talking earlier, which is why David Sinclair and I, it's a very synergistic sort of partnership, because he brings that, and then at the same time, equally important is that your soul, that spirituality, that connection that you have to your body, and to yourself, and then of course the practices that come with that.
My goodness. Okay, let's talk about that and some of these practices. And we mentioned David Sinclair, who's a Harvard researcher in longevity medicine, and he's you talk a little bit about him, and he's part of our Da Vinci 50 leaders in longevity medicine. And it was really great to hear him speak last October at the Boston conference that we had, and enlightening to see what cellular science he's been looking at, what pharmaceuticals, that are being researched at Harvard right now to help improve longevity. And then it comes back down to, like you said, holistic biohacking and the synergy between the two. And you've had some great conversations with him on your podcast. So will you share some of those pearls and how you've integrated that?
Absolutely. We talk a lot, clearly, about food and diet. Uh, Interestingly enough, when we met him at that conference last fall, it wasn't as much of a focus. Clearly he's a scientist. I'm doing this type of research, and it wasn't until we started talking and he could see, and then later experience dietary changes, you know, lowering the levels of inflammation that you have in your body, starting with your gut, starting with your diet. I am plant-based. I'm not saying that plant-based is for everyone, but there's a lot of science that supports lowered inflammation levels, and gut health when it comes to a plant-based diet. Now, of course, you have to be smart about what you eat, how you eat. You also have to be mindful about supplementing yourself with the necessary amino acids that you might not find in plants that are found in animal products. So we talk a lot about that. And, we also talk about what he's now labeled xenohermesis, which is that sort of like those stress molecules that we get from plants, and we get them when we consume plants.
Okay, now this is a biggie, Serena. I'm going to stop you because many people are hearing, okay, lectins are bad for you. Lectins, we shouldn't have lectins. And, but that is part of that xenohormesis.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what people don't, and anyone who might not know what xenohermesis is, it's basically stress on the plant, survival stress on plants, and then what those plant bodies create in response to that, and that our bodies take in. So we talk a lot about hermetic stress, which is just sort of giving our body just enough stress so that it responds in a way that gives us, it's like triggering autophagy. It's giving us those uh, those activating our body in such a way that we create the molecules and the compounds in our bodies, extend our life and make us stronger. And so that's what's sort of happening with plants when we're talking about xenohermesis. So the encouragement here is to really reach. I talk a lot about, eat a rainbow and brightly colored plants and vegetable, fruits and vegetables, just plants. It's not just because I want you to get all the phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals, but it's also because those particular plants have more than likely gone through this process of xenohermesis. They've been stressed, and so that results in the coloring, which makes it just easy for everyone to remember, instead of just, I got to eat all these fruits, all these vegetables. And again, I always encourage people to get tested, know your biomarkers. David and I talk about this a lot. No, you can't manage what you don't measure. So
Exactly.
you've got to
Exactly.
go and get your labs done, see what your intolerances are, see what inflammatory markers that you have, so that you can adjust.
What are
And
some of the key biomarkers that you like to look at?
I always do a food intolerance. I test nearly 300 markers. and well, it's not quite 300, it's like 200, almost 300. And then if anyone's done any sort of allergy, I'm happy to take a look at those labs. I don't typically run that. So those inflammation markers are really important. And then just your nutrient density. So I want to know um, what what your nutrient levels are in your body. So that's a micronutrient panel, and that's something that I typically do. I also do full hormone panels, thyroid for men and women, everything. Um, I like to do a gut test as well. And that really depends on the client. If they it's a process that you have to
Like
do
a
at
stool test, like a digestive stool analysis?
yeah,
I love
basically.
that. Yes.
They're so important, and sometimes people are uncomfortable with that process, but you just have to know that everything that is in and out of your body is perfect and glorious, and data is everything. So I highly recommend that, because your gut really is such a key to everything. Just going back to what I was saying earlier, obviously not just brain health, but longevity. And that begins, you speak of this, Anna, that begins for women, when your baby's still inside of you,
Mhm.
that already starts that process for your child. Longevity begins. um
In the womb, longevity begins in the womb.
yeah. And that really comes from, again, what you put into your body, what you take in, what you ingest. Something that I it was interesting. I think I shared it with JJ, and she was like, "Oh, we don't talk about this that much." It's just what I was talking about with the amino acids, especially if you're plant-based, and making sure that you get in enough of those from your diet. So either you take it supplementally. There's some great supplements out there that have all the essential aminos. And then obviously there are some plant products, or just plants, and algae is one of them. So I highly recommend Irish sea moss. Pretty much have everyone on that, because it's got so many aminos in it. It's got everything that you really need to not just heal if you have any type of gut issues, but really support your gut. Uh, Obviously, we talk a lot about probiotics, prebiotics, and now postbiotics. Recently, I was talking to a partner, and they create a product that makes urolithin A, and so that is a compound that helps our body absorb all the great antioxidants, all the nutrients, say from berries, anything that has high antioxidant values in it. Some of us don't have the right bacteria that can really help us take that in. And so there are all kinds of compounds, molecules out there that we can take supplementally that help. I don't know if we've talked about it here, but I also use spermidine. That's another great one. So, longevity is about getting our bodies to go into that autophagy sort of process, right? And anything that we do between diet, food, lifestyle, and supplements is helpful for that. So there are compounds like spermidine, which we find in vegetables, but the concentrations might not be high enough. So you can take it supplementally. That also sort of trick your body to go into autophagy. So that's similar to what we're doing when we're fasting, or when we're doing like high intensity interval type of exercise, or when we're doing that. I don't want to call it shock therapy. It's shock therapy for me because it's so cold, but
Oh, yes,
people that
cold baths and cold
cold
plunges.
plunges, and like anytime we're shocking our body that way, we are tricking it, so to speak, and we're triggering it to go into autophagy. So yes, Dave and I talk about a lot of the different ways. A lot of it is in supplements, but it's also in lifestyle. It's also in diet and food, and where you focus your attention. And so gut was something that we were talking about just last week that I'm mentioning here as well. That I think, people are aware, but be even a little bit more attuned. When you eat something and it doesn't feel right, when your stomach and your digestive system doesn't feel right, that's like a flag. So we're so sort of I, I don't want to say used to, but it is true. We're used to taking something to manage the symptoms because we've got a meeting, we've got a Zoom, we've got a podcast, we've got to get on a plane. And so when our body's telling us something, especially our digestive, our immediate reach is to, okay, I'm gassy, so I'm going to take something that deals with that. Oh, I'm acidic. So I'm going to take something that tones that down. And really what you have to go to is the root of the issue, and sort of like, well, why is my body responding that way? um, it's likely physiological. Maybe you have a little bit too much acid, maybe not enough. Maybe there's permeability, there's a leak in your gut, so to speak. Or maybe it's emotional, because so much of of our emotions, our mood, our mental and psychological health is directly connected to our gut. So so our gut and the health of our gut can affect our mood and our mind. But likewise, it works in a loop. If we're having a tough day, if we're stressed, if we're emotionally challenged, it also then it goes down and affects our gut health. So it works. It's important to remember that it works in this loop. It's a back and forth. It's not just one direction, which I think that some people think. If I eat this food, it's good for my brain. But likewise, if your brain's having a rough day, it'll affect your stomach. And so these are the things that can affect not just our immune health, but obviously our lifespan. I've been rambling on and on. I feel
Yeah,
like I
no, it's so true. And I think that's like the practicality of it. It's always more than one thing, right? And how we incorporate it into our world and what we know about. And several of these, like the Irish sea moss, that's new to me, but the urolithin A and spermidine, certainly we've talked about that in longevity circles. And I haven't tried any of those myself yet. I definitely haven't tried any of those myself. And I always think, okay, let me get to the foundational issues first. Let me really work on that, getting into ketosis, getting into autophagy and naturally doing that. So using maybe exogenous ketones or using spermidine or a glucose sensitizing agent like berberine as a supplement or metformin by prescription, that these are additional options that are available to us, and especially thinking, okay, well, when do we implement them? It's always, for me, it's always like one step at a time. Let's look at the biggest things that can move the needle. And always it's with lifestyle, mindset, and the the nutrition that we're eating, that it goes beyond. I think too, like some of the, I couldn't agree more. What gets measured gets managed. So test, don't guess. From checking urine pH and ketones to checking inflammatory markers to checking, hormones and how they're responding, but mostly detoxification, how our
Yes.
body's detoxing hormones. So, in my recent book, Menopause, there's a plant-based detox in there, as well as a carnivore plan.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so sometimes people can't tolerate plant foods. How do you address that, Serena?
That's a great question. So I wanted to just acknowledge what you said about when do you start, and that's such a great question. I'd like to go back to after this, uh, and I love the emphasis on because this is how I do as well. What can you do with just your body first? What our bodies are such incredible, complex, complicated, and just um, uh, we're unicorns. What
Yes.
we do, what our bodies are capable of doing is so much more than we realize. So doing it in the natural ways first and then supplementing as tools is a really important note that you made about that. uh Remind me, what was I just supposed to be answering just now?
Where do we start?
Oh, with the plant. Okay, yeah. So adjusting from to a plant-based diet. So great question. There's always I kind of incorporate slow. So it really depends. Now, some people in an acute situation, I have had clients that have cancer. Depending on the cancer, It's pretty much like it's a clean slate. We wipe everything clean, and we might not necessarily go raw, but we'll go plant-based. And it'll be kind of half and half. If you're not in an acute situation like that and you just want to make a lifestyle adjustment, it's as with all things. It's almost like you titrate, so you incorporate more. If you're looking at your plate and you've got, only 1/4 of that plate that's fresh, steamed or cooked vegetables, then what you want to do is you want to double that, so it's like at least half. And then you can add in a little bit more because you want to give your digestive system a chance to acclimate to that. Your gut biome is not quite used to those things. You need to build up the bacteria as well, to digest and process those foods. Some people just want to just say, okay, starting today, I'm vegetarian. I'm only going to do, a little bit of eggs or a little bit of dairy, or some people just go straight vegan, which is wonderful if they want to do that too. Um, but you do have to give yourself about, I would say, 10 to 14 days where your body is going to be detoxing. You don't realize it. You think it's the vegetables that's causing you discomfort. Yes and no. Your body is also detoxing. It's taking in all these nutrients, and now it's sort of like letting go of what it was holding on to before. So what Anna, you were saying about how detox is such an important part of the whole process, I 100% agree. I believe in daily detox,
Yeah.
so make sure you get in all the things, naturally, some cilantro, some parsley, your lemon water, lymphatic. You don't have to wear the boots. You can do it with the brush, but that you're detoxing on a daily basis, because that is by design how our bodies are meant to work. And then every once in a while, you can do a little bit more of an intense detox to kind of help purge. I'm a big fan of colonics. I don't think I've talked about that really that much, but I am a big fan of that. It's good every once in a while to go in and have some help to take it all out, especially if you've had to be on medication for any reason. If you've been on antibiotics, we want to take all those dead bugs out, just like we want to take out senescent cells, right? We talk about, I'm sure you talk about senolytics here, and senescent cells, which are zombie cells, and we want to remove that from our system as well, because they take up space.
We take
They
up
take up
space and
space.
energy and resources. So those are our dying cells, right?
Mhm.
So we want to move those. So interesting with colonics. It is something that I definitely incorporate into my medical practice with clients. So, and it can be very, very helpful done right, right? And the other thing is feeding the gut back with enzymes, especially if you are doing more plant-based foods,
Mhm.
enzymes and probiotics. The issue that I definitely come across in my plant-based eaters is they're not getting enough protein and fat or able to digest their food really well. So
Mhm.
that's just an area that's sometimes a challenge to navigate.
So that's a great point. If you I'm a big fan of avocados. I have it every single day. Getting enough fat into your diet, if you choose a plant-based diet, really isn't that hard. There are, say, there's avocado, there's coconut, there's obviously nuts and seeds that have higher levels of fat. I That's my go-to. And then in terms of protein, you can still get in enough protein. You just have to be very mindful about it. You have to pay attention a little bit more, because there are, clearly with the legumes, clearly with the seeds and nuts, just make sure you soak them first. I'm a big fan of sprouting, of soaking. We didn't talk about it here, but broccoli sprouts and
I love them. Some of my
they,
favorites. Yeah.
yeah, that's just something that you want that a part of your daily, whether, regardless of if you're plant-based or not. Just the nutritional benefits from the sulforaphane, anti-cancer, anti so many things. It is excellent to have in your diet. Um, One thing that I really love, because Dave and I talk a lot about, how we add polyphenols in with fat. You take your resveratrol or your senolytics with a little bit of fat. He does it with yogurt. I do too.
So
But
when you're
sometimes
taking your senolytics, you're referring to like the spermidine, or what are you?
oh no, like let's say quercetin or fisetin and then polyphenol, so your resveratrol. It's great to take a lot of these things. It's great to take with fat because your body uh, absorbs it better. Uh, but sometimes, if I'm fasting, I don't want to have even a bite of yogurt in the morning. But I will allow myself to have, say, a matcha latte, which is one of my favorites.
I
So,
know you've
one-
made me some.
every,
So
yeah.
good. You are the queen of making them delicious. I'm like, I don't like matcha. And you like, Serena was like, oh my gosh, you got to try it. And you made it with additional herbs, and it was just so tasty.
Well,
Spices. It's good.
you guys, we have to share with your audience because matcha is
Yeah.
definitely, I would call a longevity. That's a longevity food, a longevity beverage. The auric levels are so high in
Yeah.
organic ceremonial grade matcha.
So yeah,
Uh,
definitely let's talk about how to make it tasty, because I'm a big maca fan, because of
oh
course
yes.
maca plus is amazing, and that's affects our epigenome too, and is really part of that field. And everyone sometimes gets confused maca and matcha. So matcha
Oh
is a green tea,
yeah.
and maca is a root that grows in the Andes and in Peru. And so a little very different, but okay. So matcha, and even I think some of the coffee stores were having some matcha lattes, and I was like, I tried it once and I'm never having that again until
Oh no. Oh no. We got to get you on that train. It's so good for you. At least have it once in a while. But I love maca too. It's in my Just Add Water product. It is um just another blessing the universe and God gave us to be able to have the benefits from this root and have that every day as well. So matcha is basically a green tea. And it's one of the plants out there that does go through hormetic stress. So it would be a plant that experiences xenohermesis, because the way they grow it is they block the sunlight for a period of time when they're growing the green tea, when they're farming growing this green tea. So it gets exposed to a certain amount of sunlight, then it gets exposed to shade. So the plants have to work a little bit harder. And different than other green teas, it's grounded into a powder. So it's very fine. And what you really want is you want a good quality, because just like with anything, if it's not a good quality, it doesn't taste very good. But I prefer organic ceremonial grade matcha. Um, and I usually do it with a little bit of cinnamon, and that helps with your blood sugar levels. And then I'll do it with a little bit of monk fruit. So there's obviously no calories. It didn't change my glucose levels. And at the same time, there's just a tiny bit of carbs. But I do it with almond milk, and it's almond milk with just almond and water. So it's rich in that almond fat. And I blend it all together with the matcha, and I love it. And it's also a great place. Sometimes I'll put my resveratrol in there. I'll put my senolytics. I'll put my polyphenols in there because it's got that fat from the nut. So it's a way you can like stack your hack. You're getting your matcha, but you're also getting all your polyphenols and you're getting your senolytics in a drink. And it doesn't break your fast as long as you don't put any sugar in it or anything with high carbs. So this is one of my daily longevity practices. Something that, of course, David's adopted in other people, because if we can get you the right recipe, you'll love it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I know I could talk to you forever. Well, give us a quick synopsis of a day in your life. Here at the Girlfriend Doctor, we have four pillars as our foundation, and it is nourish, shine, awaken, and embrace. So those four key areas to really be grounded in on a daily basis, that these are key to healthy longevity and vibrancy and just loving our lives. So run me through a day in your life, Serena.
So I love that, because my life it's so interesting. It's between travel and now, stuff at home. It's kind of all over, but I do have foundations. So no matter where I go, no matter where I am, no matter what's happening, I start my day with gratitude and grace. Before I get out of bed, I say my prayers, I say my gratitude, and I connect. I connect to what I consider my guides. And I do meditation. So it's how I start my day, and it really grounds you. You settle your mind into an empowered state. So don't reach for the phone and look at emails and get yourself, shifted into the sympathetic state. You want to be in a parasympathetic state as you start your day. So I do that. I prepare myself for the day, get ready. And when I'm in the shower, I do the same thing. And I don't know if I've shared this here before, but the shower is a great place to cleanse yourself of anything that doesn't serve you, and just be fully in your own energy. And then, of course, I start my day with a warm lemon water. Before that, I oil pull. This is a ritual.
Okay. With coconut oil, or what type of oil? And oil pulling just in your mouth and cleansing your.
Yeah, so I take a spoonful of coconut oil, just like raw cold press coconut oil, and I work it around. And that's, when I'm doing other things and getting ready in the bathroom, this is what I'm doing. And I spit that out, and then I brush my teeth. And then I actually floss with like charcoal floss.
Mhm.
Uh, and then, I get ready for the day. I have my warm lemon water. And I do my morning supplements and senolytics, and my just add water comes later, but I'll do my matcha with my polyphenols, and then I go about my day. So sometimes it's interviews, sometimes it's Zoom, sometimes it's clients, sometimes I'm in a different part of the world. But I usually fast for at least 12 to, at minimum, to 16 hours before I really consume something that my body needs to digest and process. So that's just a daily for me. And you know, by the time I've had my matcha, I've probably had almost a liter of water. And just a reminder to everybody
Yeah,
how
that's a
important.
good ad.
Yeah, really. And I'm a big 1 ounce per pound that you weigh person. If you can't drink that much, at least make 75 to 80% there your goal, because it just helps your whole system. It helps the detox process. It helps energy flow. It helps you take in all these supplements if you're taking in supplements. But it's just a necessary part of life that
Yeah.
I found 99% of my clients are dehydrated when they come to me.
Oh,
So,
yeah. We have a saying, you learn this as a first year, medical student,
mhm.
that the solution to pollution is dilution.
Mhm, mhm.
So that's always a good
That's
reminder.
great. I love it. Yeah. So that's a key factor. So, I would say those are some of my biggest takeaways, just like meditation. That's a practice that we have more and more studies of how it contributes towards longevity.
Yes.
David actually does it now too. He didn't, before, because now we've pulled all the studies and he gets that. Hydration, obviously, eating the rainbow, getting those xenohermetic plants in you, movement, of course. And one of the most important things that we don't talk about enough is connection.
Ah,
You know,
so important.
connection. You've got to connect some way, whether it's physically, with touch, and that includes body work that you may receive, um, massage, anything, or connection, even this way, even virtually. But connection is core to that sense of um, vibrancy, that we want to carry throughout our whole life.
Absolutely. Serena, how can people get a hold of you?
Yes, so my website, it's serenaloves.com, and my Instagram, and I think most of my social handles are all Chef Serena Poon. So that's where you can find me, and I'm just grateful. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's been so good to have you here and to connect with you. Your energy is beautiful. I feel so relaxed. It's been a hectic day for me, and I feel like it's just like
Ah,
taking a deep breath. And I've had a meditation right now in our conversation. And so I
um,
want to definitely thank you for being a guest on the Girlfriend Doctor Show. And I look forward to seeing you again and how you ground our longevity medicine, right? It's not all about the gadgets and the gizmos and the pills. There's the foundational issues that are at our core that nothing else will work unless we have the right mindset. And then again, like how we feel at home in our body is a huge piece of it. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. And you guys check out Chef Serena Poon on Instagram, and also her website, serenaloves.com. She's got some great products on her website, and I love her candles, by the way, and ceremonial candles and those good things to really like center. Like you can do centering prayer with those, meditation, and it's just really good stuff. And it's just been a blessing. Serena, you were going to say something.
Yes, I almost forgot. If you do go to my Instagram, the link in bio, we have links for our longevity resources. So, because Dr. David Sinclair and I have a series that we do, and we have like a separate landing page. I don't remember what it is right now in this moment, but
Your
it is
link in your bio.
in my bio, and you'll find it. And there's a lot of resources there, a lot of what we talked about here today, and of course, even more than that. So, but thank you so much. This has been such a joy.
You are welcome. And to my audience, I thank you always for listening and sharing. Please hop over to where you listen to this podcast. Definitely give us a rating and subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Girlfriend Doctor. Putting in extra videos, and you can see the connection and feel like you are definitely being embraced as intended in this community. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. Until next time, thank you all.